Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to do something a little bit different here today than the usual, gacha slop combat sweaty gameplay that gets uploaded. Today I just wanted to take a chance and talk about a topic that's been on my mind for like, you know, past couple months, past about, since about like 5.3, 5.2, I've been thinking about this in the back of my mind. And it's, just kind of about the downfall of combat and skill expression in Genshin Impact. So the first thing we can look at is like the elephant in the room, the easiest thing to analyze is that the neuvillette issue. Neuvillette released in early Fontaine, and he was one of, if not the strongest character in the game, right? While also being very, 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 very comfortable to play. Good single target damage, good AoE. Also healed himself. At least at C0, his only real downside was his resistance to interruption, which meant that you were often recommended to play him with a shielder. But, he does have a C1 that, increases his resistance to interruption, allowing you to go shieldless. So, just very comfortable unit to play. It kind of just means you don't have to worry about what the enemy's doing. You just can sit there and do your damage, right? You get to just play you. You get to the enemy. You don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about what the boss or enemies are ever doing. You just sit there, hold down your charge attack button, boom, 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 boom. Everything dies. Right? There's no tension in the gameplay at all whatsoever. And fast forward to Natlan in 5.3, and Hoyo has essentially like triple dog down on this with mavuika. You could pretty much call her Pyro Neuvillette. Very similar gameplay, but she gets, because she's on the bike, she by default she gets a lot of resistance to interruption. And then if that wasn't enough, it's pretty much damn near infinite resistance to interruption. Just at C0. And every single one of her supports also offers her some form of defensive utility, right? So Bennett is a healer. Shillinen is also a healer. And Sidlali offers voice crack type shit. Sidlali offers you a shield, right? So now you really, really don't have to worry about anything. You don't have to worry about getting interrupted while you're holding down the charge attack button. You don't have to worry about taking damage because you've got heals going off, multiple types of heals, and you're doing the most damage in the game. All at the same time, right? Like, just, it's just kind of disgusting, man. Kind of disgusting. Now, that's like the easy thing to go for, but the original idea, the original thing I wanted to talk about in regards to, the lack of skill expression is actually just over time, the slow automation of game mechanics. So what do I mean by that, right? So let's back it up a little bit and let's talk about anime characters, right? So Kazuha, Sucrose, Lanyan, etc., right? These characters were pretty much the de facto best supports in the game, right? Because they could equip Venereal Viridescent or Viridescent Venereal or whatever and give your carries or sub DPSs in your team 40% red shred, which, taking into account default resistances, it's usually just a straight up like 25% damage increase overall for the character, right? They just do 25% more damage. It's great. It's cool. These characters also gave other buffs, whether it's like TTDS, EM, or like damage percent through their kits. But the only downside is that they only applied Res Shred to the enemies in front of you, right? To the current wave. So in like multi-wave content, unless you did specific setups so you could hit specific damage thresholds quickly with your team, you would kind of have to wait until the next rotation to get res shred, right? On subsequent waves. But at least before the like new wave supports, there was Zhongli who just had Red Shred as an aura. You didn't have to swirl anything. You just press the button and you got Red Shred, right? But it was lower. It was 20% versus the 40% that the Anemo characters gave you. Um, so with these Anemo characters, you would have to actually like think about your setups, right? In certain teams where you had multiple characters dealing damage, for example, like maybe like Raiden Hyper or Raiden Overload, Child International, National with Xingqiu, or Hu Tao VV Vape. There's multiple characters doing damage. You have multiple elements, and if you were a better player or you knew what you were doing, you could set up your rotations and elemental applications in a way that you would be able to swirl, like let's say like pyro and hydro and cryo at the same time, and these would just lead to overall like very visibly like faster clears, right? Like just shaving off like 10 15 seconds versus just swirling like one rotation, right? Like let's just say you're just swirling electro or just swirling pyro, right? And like figuring like all this kind of stuff out, and like some of it's like chamber dependent. Figuring out, okay, I could do like child burst the first wave, instantly wipe the first wave, and then quickly switch back to Kazuha and swirl pyro on the second wave, and then go to work, go to work, right? You could do like really cool things like that. But and now with this like ever since Chevreuse, right? Like Chevreuse, great character, right? She kind of makes overload, uh, you know, a thing now, right? A lot of the subsequent supports that we got, such as Sid Lally, Shillinen, Escoffier, Sid Lally, all these characters kind of, follow in her footsteps in the sense that you don't have to work for res shred. You don't have to think about shredding the elements. Like it kind of just happens on the button press, right? Chevreuse, you just need a proc overload, both pyro and electro, minus 40%. Shillinen, you just, as long as there is, any element on the enemy that you're using your E on, it's going to shred the elements of all the characters in your party, right? Sid Lally, all you have to do is proc freeze, all you have to do is proc melt, you'll get your hydro, you'll get your cryo shred, or you'll get your hydro, you'll get your pyro shred. Escoffier, Escoffier's, she just has turret freeze, right? Like as long as her skill or burst hits enemies, it also, it shreds both hydro and cryo. This process has now been automated, just leading to more, pretty much brain dead gameplay, right? Like that's really what it is. It also works in multi-wave. So like when you think about HP inflation and like HP going up, you have to realize that like even now the average player just is hitting their, I guess, like theoretical max like team DPS more often than not, versus before, right? So like a lot of the things that if you thought about, or you just had game knowledge of, you could kind of have a leg up over people who didn't, right? Who were just like red shredding one element in their team, right? Now everybody, now you're just getting red shred all the time on every wave, without thinking about it at all. And in, it's more so than just, like I said, like more so than just the damage increasing with newer characters, right? Like it's a reason that there's like a smaller wave before the boss now in Abyss, right? Like there's like a wave with like 200, 300, 400-ish K HP before you even get to like the fucking 4 or 5 million HP boss, just because like you don't really lose anything by having to kill, you know, the wave in front of you. It's not like you have to like, oh, I have to like apply pyro on this wave, then shred it, and then kill the wave and then reapply. Like no, like there's none of that anymore. You just do your rotation and go, right? And then lastly, we can just talk about the we can talk about this character right here. Not just this character, but others too. Hoyo has, as I guess, some kind of like balancing thing for certain characters. Hoyo has been very, very, very restrictive on team building recently. Like you can even kind of argue mavuika too, um, where they really want to pigeonhole you into like certain teammates for characters, right? Like Skirk can only use pyro and or hydro and cryo characters, right? Without and if unless she wants to lose omega tons of damage, right? And then on top of that, if you don't have a Scofier, right? Because you can't just slot in a Shillin and slot in a Zhongli for res shred. The only way you get res shred is if you have a Scofier or a Sitlali. Wait, no, not even Sitlali. Well, you'll get if you're using another Hydro on the team with Sitlali, they'll get the res shred. But the only way to get cryo res shred is essentially either like the 10. I think like Shenna gives 10%. But pretty much if you don't have a Scofier, you just lose like 25% of your. I think it's like closer to 30. You just lose 30% of your damage because you can't. There's just no way to get red shred, right? While keeping her multipliers, keeping her passive, happy. And that really sucks, especially in this game because I think one of the strongest things this game did was kind of had novel team building compared to like other gacha games, right? Where it's like before, you know, you have your fire team, you have your dark team, you have your water team, whatever, right? Your ice team. And, you're just playing these like mono teams, but with the elemental reaction system in Genshin, right? We're like mixing, we're matching elements, which is like really cool because like at least when you looked at like older Abyss layouts, it was kind of almost like a puzzle, like and like usually teams had that flex spot, right, where it's like, okay, maybe they need that Bennett, they need that Shangling, they need that Anemo character, right, but like, or they need like that Hydro character for reaction or whatever, right, like they need one or two characters for like buffing or causing a reaction, and then a lot of teams had that last slot where it's like you can kind of slot in whatever if you just you need to like solve that puzzle, right? Like we saw that in like I want to say it was like the 3.7 or like 3.6 Spiral Abyss, where like everyone in a mama because of the layout. It was like they had the like Baptist boss at the very end, but then on like the first chamber on one of the sides, it was like two like lector. It was like three lectors at the all at the same time. It was like two hydros and a cryo lector, or like two cryos and a hydro. But like anyway, like everybody and their mom was running like Nida National, right? It was like Bennett. You would run. Everybody was running like Bennett, Shangling, Xingqiu, and then like Nida, just because like it was like the like easiest way to. It was like the easiest way to solve those chambers, and that's like really cool, right? It's like, oh, like okay, like Hoyo's like puts like these kind of enemies in these chambers, or like just specifically in this one chamber, and it's like, okay, I can just swap out my fourth slot for the character that fulfills that requirement, right? Because like for another example, like the Drake boss that starts off flying in the air, and you kind of need a bow, or not just a bow, but somebody who could bring the Drake down when it starts flying, when it starts their chamber off flying, right? Like you could just swap, like if you're playing like Hu Tao double hydro, you could just swap out that like Zhongli slot for like Fischl, right? And that's just really cool. It was really cool. It was really fun. It led to like a lot of experimentation, and a lot of that is just kind of gone now because it's like, while characters always had their best teams, um, right? There was always room for flexibility to solve puzzles, or just to have fun. Maybe want to try something different. And the drop off in damage usually wasn't that steep, right? As like not having that Escoffier for Skirk, not having that Sitlali for mavuika, right? Um, yeah, so that's the video. If you're still here, thank you. Let me know your guys' thoughts. Let me know if I'm crazy. Let me know if you like and prefer the game like this.